Can you smell it? That is the smell of round 3, or maybe the sweaty teams. It's hard to tell. Round 3, CCI in-house sticking on the blue side. And it looks like Mint going red. Score tied up, like I said, 1-1. Fearless draft in full effect. When we go into the actual draft itself, you should see the bands, and there they are right on cue. There's the first part of the UI. I think we're just waiting on the top half here in a minute. And first band's already out, and it's going to be Udyr.
Yeah, and I don't expect to see anything different out of Mint in these bans so far. And a reminder, CCI are going to be without a majority of their bans, should have the last one available. I just went ahead real quick because this is the client draft. I want to say right away, the priority picks that are still up and available, Rumble gets banned here, so that one's off, but stuff like Mbessa, Pantheon, Vi, Oriana, Annie, and there's already one of them, Ezreal, Corki, Misfortune, and then the support pool is really wide open. Rel, Alistar, Nico, Braum, so a lot of really powerful stuff. Renekton and Bessa, this is a skill matchup. That's pretty much the consensus. Who's ever got the better hands is going to win it. I love to see Lilia. I am nervous with the nerfs to Haunting guys if it's going to hold them back, as Cassiopeia Shen getting some global and also getting some anti-dash going to be good. There's no way they actually pick Yanara, not only because it is banned for 2 weeks because it is a new champ and that is the status quo, but also because I'm pretty sure it is 80 only as they've made it. And Mel will be the pickup. Plays well into Cassiopeia. Doesn't have a ton that it can reflect, though.
I have seen Mel put in a lot of work in these games, but I really am trying to wrap my head around how she's going to do in these fights. I like the team fights a little bit better on Cassiopeia's side when it comes to looking at the Rin and, of course, Liliana. She does have to worry about the stuns and getting locked down, but she's got a lot of support just from the Shen alone. And then you can't really leave Ambessa alone. I don't play top as much, so I'm not super familiar with her. So maybe Jack will cue me in here a little bit on what she specializes in as we go into a couple more of these picks.
Yeah, and Bessa, if you ever hear the meme of like, oh, this champion's so easy, you just smash your head against your keyboard. That is how Mbessa kind of plays. Every single ability, it enables that dash, and she's just rolling around, getting shields, blocking damage to get bigger shields, able to constantly leap forward with the Q. And I love the way they're rounding out this draft. I am a Kai'Sa lover. I think this champion is so strong. I think that right now in this meta, it really fits well into these early skirmishes. Surprising amount of damage, has the plasma to get so much surprise burst. And when you pair it up with something like Alistar, can keep the Kai'Sa safe and can also try and go in. But I love what Mint has done in this bottom lane. The key to winning last game was Atoshi getting kills early and Verzia getting scaling champs. So it didn't work with the Jinx, but it worked wonders with the Senna. So now you go on to the next option. It's going to be that Smolder. Was recently buffed, although the buffs don't seem to be as impactful as they were believed earlier to be. And now the only problem I'm thinking of is Mint have a bit of a disjointed team comp. If Leona can't land the CC, they're going to have a hard time locking down targets. It's going to be on the back of Itoshi, this Lilia, to find a multi-man lilting lullaby, try and get those sleeps down. But for CC in-house, it is so simple. It is front to back. You dive in, and Bessa just starts rolling, tries to get that public execution into the back line. Shenna is going to be able to taunt people down. Cassiopeia prevents any real forward movement. And then Bogard just waits patiently to try and find that killer instinct dive. And this could get bloody fast. This is the first time where I feel like this isn't going to be just a wait around and scale. It looks like both teams are factoring in some early skirmishes.
Well, and I still keep trying to factor in why they went with Mel, why Mint went with Mel here. But I think what they're shooting for is those stuns, right? Because so far, just about everybody, other than Smolder, has stuns. And what they might be trying to do, which may not be the worst strategy, is if they can just delay the game with stun after stun after stun, or turn those into picks. That'll give Smolder a lot of time to that bounty. I think it's like it's 200 and something. Is it like 244 or something?
225.
225 for his final execute for his abilities, which is just absolutely devastating. And Smolder having that execute into this team is going to be pretty harsh because they're going to have a hard time making it to Smolder. Alistair might have the best bet for it, maybe Shin, but they're going to have a hard time making it to Smolder unless Smolder plays really, really terribly. And if they just play this as a basic team fight and Smolder has those stacks, he's just going to absolutely nuke their entire team front to back because of all the splash damage and all the execute. So they need to watch out for it. So I think it's going to be a stun based, and I think the stuns are going to be so important for Mint. They need to time them, they need to plan them, and they need to capitalize on them when they happen by accident.
Yeah, and I love that you pointed out that front to back ability because that's exactly how CC are going to be playing these fights of Shen going in, or most likely Mbessa going in with that Stand United on their head, and then having Alistar try and pick up the pieces, go for the follow up. And if Smolder is able to stay out of the way of that initial engage, once they have that execute, they're going to have such an easy time melting those champions. And Renekton's hard to get around. You know, this is a big crocodile that you have to really focus. Otherwise, the amount of damage that can be put down by a Dominus late in a game is really damaging. Same with Lilia. If you don't focus these targets and allow them to just keep getting off spell rotation after spell rotation, you will lose these fights way faster than you expect. And, you know, it's not like we didn't just come off a game where it felt like CCI were in control until they started losing fights that it seemed like they didn't really think they could lose. So I am just looking for CCI to maybe have some better comms in this game and not get as caught off guard.
Well, and I'm hoping CCI has taken at least a tiny bit of a mental reset because I think that's going to be really important because it seemed like that game they were really struggling, they were really sort of slipping back and forward, and it just led into more and more slips and more bad opportunities. They need to lock it in. They need to go back to what they're good at, which is being this sort of like consistent, unmoving rock, where it's like they suffer minor losses, but they wait and they bide their time, and as soon as they see it, they take it and they capitalize on it because something a lot of people I think forget is that it is much harder to engage than it is to turn. And I think what CCI wants is they want to set it up for their own turn. They do have a lot of opportunities to grab them and to get into them, but I think with how that last game went, I think that's how they need to play. They need to be a little bit more cautious and bide their time and watch their positioning. Every time they think about going in, they need to look at it and go, am I in a good position to do this? Is my team in a good position for this? And I think that's indeed something they need to watch out for.
Yeah,
And
that's a
if you're
problem.
watching in chat, real quick, sorry, 1 second. Does look we have got a couple of predicts on the board up and going.
Absolutely. Make sure you drop your predictions as we head into the final game of this series.
Ooh, and it looks like so far people are voting for Mint. Looking at the polls for the moment.
It looks like, you know, it's I think this is one of the best games to throw those predictions down, as Flow from Progressive seems to have jump scared some of our members here getting ads. But I think it's almost hard for me to predict against Mint because I mean they have a team comp very similar to last game. Instead of an AD bruiser, they have kind of an AP bruiser. Lilia is going to buy a lot of health, and Renekton, Riven, pretty similar play styles. Another stacking AD carry pick, and you know, it's not like the skill is much lower. Cassiopeia is a very high skill cap champion like Azir, and Shen Jungle struggles greatly in the early game. So if Lilia is able to get ahead, it will be massive. I think the key to this game is going to be whether or not Bogar Unleashed can bounce back. The Jhin performance left a lot to be desired, And Kai'Sa is a champ that has so much carry potential on their own. Had some build concerns in the last game, but I am no Jhin aficionado the way I am a Kai'Sa aficionado. So I'm going to be very, very critical if we don't see the on hit, because I feel like on hit will be so good in this game.
Well, and I think CCI really wants to play off of this Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa does, Bogart does seem to be a fairly solid player. And I don't think the fights where they were on Gen were necessarily their fault because, like I said, in that previous game, so many of his ults were reactionary to stuff that his team was doing while he was just trying to get some farm or just trying to get in position and those Spicer forts. So, like, his ults were a little bit awkward. He wasn't able to get it where he needed or on terms, and it's a little bit easier, I think, for Kai'Sa to sort of pick when she wants to fight. She's already chunking Leona going down to about half HP, and I think Shin's a pretty good pick for this. I don't think Liliana's going to be too aggressive in the jungle. Mbessa continuing her trade there with Renekton, but I don't think Liliana's going to go too. I don't think she wants to deal with that. That's going to be a hard nut to crack, which should give Shen plenty of time to make it to his level 6 where he can start affecting the game. I don't foresee a lot of ganks really happening off. They don't have a Trundle this time around to have that movement speed and just absolutely nuke things. Shen can get a couple of stuns, but it's really going to boil down to Kai'Sa. They need to play off this Kai'Sa, and this Kai'Sa needs to get a lead early on. And Mbessa can put in a lot of work, but I think Kai'Sa is the stronger carry for sure.
Yeah, this top lane, the trade pattern is so similar for both of these champions. They want to dive in, get some damage off, and then get out. So for Renekton, that's obviously slice forward into the Ruthless Predator, use that Call of the Meek, and then dice your way out. And for Mbessa, the Darkhound step gives you a movability on every single ability you utilize. So you want to usually start with the E because you have 2 charges of it. Go in, try and hit your 2 Q abilities, and then maybe use that W to block whatever you can and then get out. So it's really just about whoever times it better. Can you dodge more of Renekton's abilities, or can Renekton dodge more of yours? And so far, the answer is Renekton dodging more, forcing Mbessa to miss many CS early on, about a 10 CS deficit already being created. Both are going to back and teleport early on. No lane swap this game, at least at the earlier point.
Alistar getting a pretty good knock up there on Smolder. Smolder also getting stunned there, but still, there's just so much damage here between Leona. That's actually going to be a first blood. Who did she get? She got Liliana.
Lilia went for the gank, and seems like they got caught out. Great response by Israel, able to find that 2v2, and unfortunately, spectator cam robbing of us, but does look like they just tried for a 2v2 gank, and Lilia at this point in the game, no hard CC. It's all just going to be trying to hit those abilities repetitively. And like I mentioned earlier in the draft, you were questioning the Mel pick, and I have those same questions because there's just not a lot you can reflect on the team. Cassiopeia, maybe E, but the miasma, not really something that you can reflect. Once you get that the Noxus Blast, you're not going to be able to reflect. I just saw there as Mbessa, again, suffering from not being able to dodge these Renekton abilities, and once Dominus is unlocked, it's going to be even more difficult. So, kind of seeing the same patterns as Lilia's just trying to get her look back, just standing around trying to push the Cassiopeia backwards. And with Renekton moving back, bottom lane has gone back to base. It looks like Leona is going to try and roam, whereas Smolder's going back bottom lane. Kai'Sa is heading top, so it does look like we will see a lane swap just a little bit late.
Do finally get to see a little bit of reflect there from Mel, but it has such a muted effect, and Cassiopeia has so much gold. She does flash forward, but unfortunately she misses the ult, followed into a stun there by Mel, but Mel just barely able to miss it. Alistar being a bit of a bully, not doing too much other than just being irritating Leona for the counter gank, trying to support her Kai'Sa. I think this does favor Kai'Sa as long as she does not get caught, which Leona is definitely going to try for it. And I wanted to make a comment sort of on the Mel pick. I feel like instead of the Mel, and I don't know if they play this, and maybe this is a little more biased, I feel like their team comp would have called more for a Galio. I feel like Galio would have been really strong here and would have been a great pick into Cassiopeia, but I haven't done mid in a while, so maybe Galio is a bad pick. But typically, from my experience, Galio does really well into all these mages, kind of being his whole thing.
No, Galio would have been an incredible pick right now. The main meta for mid laners right now are playmaking mids, so you see a lot less heavy like carry mid laners unless it's something like Azir, which is very strong. You're mostly seeing Talia, Orianna, Galio, Syndra, and stuff that can really facilitate for the rest of their team. And Galio fits right in it. I also had written down Annie. I think Annie is quite strong right now, and being able
I can
to
see that.
provides so much CC, and they just recently gave so much magic penetration, so you don't really have to go for aggressive items to still deal a considerable amount of damage. So, you know, you can peel with those stuns, you can go forward, the flash tibbers can be so strong. So, the Mel does have some CC, as you mentioned, and I am going to be very anxious to see as Mbessa trying to push out here. Doesn't get the steal, but can chase down this Lilia. Stand United comes through.
Ooh, it looks like Leona getting a pretty decent stun there, but Mbessa's bitten off more than she can chew as she gets exhaust. That means that exhaust is not going to be available. Smolder building some stacks there in the background. Mel almost getting a really good stun. That would have been classic for her to grab because Leona was in the perfect position to go back in immediately, followed by Smolder. But unfortunately, the stun was just a little bit too short. And I think Kaisa at this point can dodge the Renekton. If the Renekton doesn't get the stun off, it's all going to boil down to Alistar. There he is. He's going to go in for it. It looks like he's still got his knockup available. Give Kaisa's time to pick on Dario, but indeed they're not going to be able to get a kill, unfortunately, for them, and it looks like CCI is going to turn that into a Shelly grab over there as Alistar rotates down in order to help him out, and it's going to be Mbessa into Smolder. I feel like Mbessa loses that unless she can close the gap. I know that's kind of her whole shtick, but Smolder's just happy to sit back and farm.
Yeah, Smolder absolutely loves this lane assignment, just getting to sit there, and Kaisa's dead.
Kaisa going down, followed soon by Richard. Richard does flash over the wall. Leona trying to follow it up, maybe going just a little bit too deep as Shin, I think, does get the final Void Grub there in the background. Indeed, he was able to get 3. It cost them an ADC, but those objectives, I think, are more important than your deaths.
Yeah, absolutely. A misplay there by Bogar. You know that your team will not be able to join you if you get engaged on. Smolder might be dead here as well, but no public execution available, so not able to close that gap, as you pointed out. Smolder very low on mana, probably has enough for just one more Super Scorch Breath. Maybe would be enough, but a little bit of Jack lore. I used to coach a team whose mid laner loved Mel, thought this champ was so strong, and played it like it was so strong, constantly was getting double-digit kills, carrying games. And one of the things that they did that I have not seen many other Mels do in professional play is utilizing the ultimate to its highest capability. You either want to use it when you can eliminate and execute one target very early on in a fight to create a numbers advantage, or you want to wait until you have stacks spread out across the entire team so you can deal a massive chunk of damage across the entire 5 stack. I can't tell you how many Mels I see use their ultimate when they've only done damage to 2 champions, or maybe only have done damage to 1, but it's not enough to kill. You really have to be using that Golden Eclipse to the highest potential to fully validate this champion pick, and I'm interested to see when these fights come out, because game 1 for KMZ was pretty quiet on the Diana, wasn't really able to sync up those abilities. Game 2 on the Vex was similarly quiet, but didn't fall too far behind, was able to still deal a decent amount of damage as the game went forward. So now maybe time for KMZ to really pull it out. It's been a lot of the shoulders of Atoshi and Venzia when they've looked good these past 2 games, so maybe time for the Mel to show up, be the vessel for KMZ, to really show off. Great freeze here in the top lane, going to take away a lot of gold and XP from the side of Mint.
Leona is going to rotate back down with her duo opponent, which is going to give Smolder even more opportunities to build up a couple of stacks there, which is exactly what you want to see. Smolder's probably got a healthy number built up at this point. I would guess somewhere right around 50, maybe a little bit more. He's had a lot of free damage in order to do. Shen does manage to dodge the stun there by Liliana, turn it into a stun of his own, followed into Alistar with his knockup. Plenty of time to take out the jungle. Jungle getting so close to going. Kaisa mopping up the kill. That's exactly what you want to see, leaving Renekton by himself. They can tower dive. There's so much beef to deal with, and Richard is just absolutely on top of it. Knockup after knockup, leading to kill after kill for his team. Shen getting a kill and Kaisa getting a kill. That's going to be good for it. It would have been nice to get both kills on Kaisa, but I don't think they're too bad on Shen.
Nope, not too bad at all. Only real problem with it going on Shen is Shen jungle really only needs 2 items, and he already has them, is the Sunfire Aegis and the Tiamat. That's what allows the Shen to actually clear jungle camps in a timely manner. Otherwise, there's no AoE abilities on the champ. It's public execution going forward. And
Smolder does get grabbed by Mbessa. Cassiopeia here for the support. Is it going to be enough? She should be able to knock up this. There it is. Smolder finally going down. Mbessa actually getting the kill there. I thought Cassiopeia was going to mop that up, but that's going to be good for her. She was able to close that distance so quickly on Smolder, absolutely wrapping him up. Smolder maybe playing it a little bit too far away from his chest this time. I think he was relying a little bit too much on that fly. Mel does get grabbed here by the Shin. She's got to watch out for it. Alistar trying to follow it up, but it looks like we do get a flash there for Mel. She has just enough time. KMZ having just enough time to get out of that fight when she needs to.
Yeah, and Kaisa has hit a pretty big item spike. There was a moment in these past couple of patches where first item Static Shiv on Kaisa was pretty acceptable because it is a much cheaper item. But now, Kraken Slayer getting a buff to the damage with CCI, picking up that dragon with Kaisa being there. Kraken Slayer available. This item, it makes it so easy to cut through squishy champions. And when you look at the lineup of Mint, Lilia not going to be building many resistances. Mel, Smolder, same thing. If Kaisa is able to get some plasma on these champs before fully diving in, they are going to absolutely melt. And like I said earlier, going to be important to go the on-hit build, and that's exactly what Bogar is doing now, heading towards that Quinsu's. Those 2 items make for a very powerful spike. Once the Nashor's Tooth comes in, it really is devastating. Kaisa gets all 3 of her second skin upgrades, is able to poke out with the Void Seekers, deal so much damage with the Acathian Rain, the repositioning available with the Supercharge just becomes an absolute menace to deal with, and it'll be another 5-10 minutes before Smolder gets to a similar level with those stacks. Now waiting, does have Killer Instinct available. This could be a solo.
For the Smolder, maybe. Alistar gonna Hexatech flash over the wall into the Smolder. Is gonna get the knockup, and it is indeed gonna be enough. Smolder ulting there in the end, but it's gonna be a vain effort as Kaisa gets another kill on the board. That's gonna be really unfortunate there for Smolder, and he wasn't even able to get stacks off of that fight from what I saw.
Yeah, and it just felt like it went from Smolder being so comfortable to being so far behind. Stand United is coming in, and TP looks like Doro could be in trouble here.
Followed into the Shen ultimate. Cassiopeia, the exact person you want to see get these, but it looks like, yes, she is indeed going to grab it. Grabbing it from Mbessa. Mbessa probably a little irritated from that, but Cassiopeia is a good one to get gold on. Things are looking up for CCI. They're being a lot more cautious. They're being a lot more prudent with their fights and just capitalize on it when they know they can win, and so far it's worked out. Kaisa could have been a little bit more aggressive there going for the Mel, but I think they've learned their lessons from the last time, so they're trying to watch out for that. Cassiopeia is going to make 3 in mid, and it looks like we're going to get our first, I believe we're like 8 minutes in, so that should be Grubs if I remember correctly.
Oh, no, now we have the Rift Herald.
Oh, it's Shelly, okay.
Picked up Shelly, getting beat already, and looks like Jungler is a ways behind. Lilia is looking to be in the area, but there's no contest. I think that's the right call. You need to try and get Smolder to a point where they can actually be, providing you something in these team fights. But you get a check on the Smolder stacking. I don't think that they're at a point right now that's going to be very viable to getting a ton of damage down. Cassiopeia can easily win this 1v1, especially with the ultimate up and available, but not having an angle to hit that Petrifying Gaze means that there's no kill, and both supports waiting in the wings, waiting to support their respective solo laters.
So far, it looks like both supports have really been respecting each other as far as the stuns and the knockups. They haven't decided to, because Leona's got that really good combo as soon as she sees a ward to pop her Q and just eat the ward before it happens. So neither one of them has fall victim to the downfall of most supports. What did we miss there? Cassiopeia got nuked.
Actually, speaking of falling victim, Cassiopeia went too far forward, ends up getting killed, and Renekton just has so much burst available, doesn't even have to burn flash. Probably caught them a little off guard. Not able to utilize the flash is Cassiopeia or the Petrifying Gaze. And now Renekton going to get that first turret. So now getting some extra gold in the pocket means going to be much more difficult to deal with on the side lane. Azriel, still no completed item yet. Has to obviously go for those two unrelated components as the jungle Shen. Now jumping on a Daro, going to be able to just slice over the wall. But Alistar is also here, and the Shen packs a punch.
Shen's already taken him down to half HP, and this Renekton does have some kills. However, he hasn't been able to get the reset. Alistar there to help confirm the kill, going to take it out. Shen's got a little bit more gold in his pocket. I think it might have been a little bit better there on Alistar, but either way, a kill's a kill. So they're going to have that. I don't think they can transition that into anything because it looks like it's going to be about 20 seconds on the clock for Renekton and 30 seconds on the clock for Dragon. We're going to get a red Drake up, and if I'm taking a look at this so far, it looks like each has grabbed one Dragon. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the Mountain Drake for Mint, and then, of course, Cloud Drake for CCI, giving themselves that movement speed, which I think is going to be really great for Kai'Sa and great for Cassiopeia in these fights. Even though it's a minor difference, I think that can just tip the scales just enough. I am still very worried about the Smolder. I don't know what his stacks are at, but he's had plenty of time to try and build them up.
Yeah, getting closer. Has that second upgrade now, so getting those kind of secondary blasts off of the Scorch Breath. Now teleport coming in for Mel. They don't want to be late to this dragon right now. Mbessa does have teleport. Daro does have teleport. Level 11 hit for Lilia. That's actually a massive break point, having 2 points in the ultimate. But again, it just feels like so many times in this series, we've had these uncontested dragons, whether it's been because of tempo advantages or having a power play with a man down. Just so many uncontested objectives. And nothing in return if they can get this mid turret, which it doesn't look like they're going to be able to, thanks to the wave clear of Smolder. But they do get a charge, get a sizable amount of damage on that top lane, and now Mel
Alistar going for the Mel is going to get the knockup exactly. Did Alistar tank this all day as Bogard gets another kill on the board? That's going to be great for him. And now this T1 is exposed. They should be able to get it, but they've got to watch out for the Leona. Kai'Sa trying to make her. They should be able to turn the fight around there with the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa can do so much here in this engagement. It looks like they're just going to fight just out of camera angle. Cassiopeia absolutely chunking the Leona. Leona finally flash. Smolder having to blow a couple abilities as well, but Bogard's going to mop up another kill. Smolder getting a pretty decent ult, but he doesn't have the damage just quite yet, so it's going to be hard for him to deal with. They've got to worry about this Alistar. Alistar Richard in great position after great position, taking everything he possibly can to the face, trying to keep the Cassiopeia alive, and it looks like it did work out.
Yeah, and just a great chase. Great dive first onto the Mel as Bogard caught shopping a little bit, but now
Lily gonna take it and gonna die. That was such an obvious bait. Why did she take that?
No, now Daro, by the way, in the meanwhile, we weren't able to see because what?
No way he gets out. No way he gets out. Oh, is he gonna get out?
He had to stop.
Just unfortunate. That doesn't mean Autocon's up, and now CCI's in a great position to grab that Autocon. I kept meaning to say, both sides have been playing really cautiously, really slow, which I don't think favors Mint. I think it favors CCI, not necessarily in the team comp, but as far as their play styles go. Because CCI is sort of just happy to play this out slow, even into the Smolder, and Smolder's going to have a long time for him to come online. Autocon, once again, going to go down almost for free here. I think that's 2 Drakes, that's 3 Grubs, and an Autocon so far, followed into a Shelly. If we take a look at the towers, it looks like towers are about even. It looks like tops are the only tower that are gone that I can see.
Yeah, and just been mostly based on the lane swap early, bringing Kaisa up there, and then Baro has really been playing well. I wasn't able to mention because Baro got caught trying to recall top, but he did, during that massive fight, get a solo kill onto GG No Rematch in the top lane. So really taking advantage of the hands diff in this specific matchup. But this Kaisa is getting out of control. Guinsu's now completed. They have those upgraded feats boots, so going to get the extra movement and attack speed on hit. This Kaisa is really becoming a menace to deal with, and Bogar showing very good knowledge of the champion, pushing into the jungle here, playing a bit aggressive. They're trying to go for another dive, but Mint is here to respond.
Alistair is going to take a bunch of these shots for free, but I don't think they have the damage. There's about 5k difference in gold, and Bessa is going to pop her way in. She's going to go for the Smolder. Smolder have to flash over the wall. Fight could still go either way. Alistair taking a bunch of free damage. He's got to watch out for it. Smolder actually getting a pretty good ult, hitting 3, not quite 4 of them. Pretty good stun there, followed into that as well. And Bessa going to go in, try to go for that backline. Does she have the damage? Does she have the... No, she doesn't, as Kaisa comes in to mop things up, getting 2 kills, followed into the Shin, grabbing the Leona. That could turn around rather quickly. Smolder just not able to do a whole lot there. He was able to get a lot of abilities off, but he's just not chunking him the way he needs to.
I know, and it's so unfortunate for Mint because they're doing exactly what their team content is built to do. You want to force it, you want to make it as hard as possible for the enemy team to dive onto you, but Mbessa hits the public execution. You have the Stand United coming down, and they're so patient. GG No Rematch could be going down again, though.
Just really unfortunate. Dario finally having a little bit of a redemption arc here. He's died a couple of times here where I feel like maybe he shouldn't have, but he's had some really solid, at least 1v1 fights, getting a little bit of revenge on his... Because on that Cho'Gath game, you know, I think it's safe to say he got pretty wrecked.
Yeah, and this time, certainly not the case. No one really able to match them as double teleports coming down. It is 30 seconds until Dragon. They do not want to give up another free objective. They want to pressure this mid lane turret. And I think that this is not terrible for CCI. I've been meaning to say, one of the reasons that it's so hard for Mint to fight is it doesn't matter how much artillery they put out, how much space they're able to make, how much they're able to zone them off. There's so many engage tools, and Bessa can dive in with the Stand United.
Ooh, CCI is not where they need to be. This is going to be a 5v4 really quickly, but Leona's taking a bunch of damage there from Cassiopeia. It looks like Mint's just not going to take it. I feel like that was their best opportunity because there's no TP on Mbessa. They had the numbers advantage, and they did tie up the gold just a little bit there in the end. So I think that was their best opportunity, and they just didn't take it. They're playing a little bit too cautious for themselves, and that's going to turn into a dragon there for CCI. Smolder only does a little bit of damage to Kaisa. Kaisa going down about 30-40%, but it's just as quickly. The fight should begin in earnest. Here we go. It looks like Shen's going to dash into the backline. Cassiopeia has to back off and try to get some much-needed HP. Looks like we're going to get a good ult there and by Mbessa, knocking up the Liliana. Liliana going to go down. Leona trying to help that kill as well. Smolder being the only one left. They've got to watch out for this Renekton. Renekton trying to come in the backline, but he's not going to be enough. Bogart just absolutely destroying the competition. He's got so much gold in the bank. He's got so many kills, and he's proving to be this hyper carry.
Yeah, but they did get pretty lucky in that fight. Bogar, at the beginning, was just chasing down the Renekton and not focusing some of these more high importance targets. So you saw them able to get kills onto Mbessa and a shutdown onto Shen. That was due to poor target selection across the board. Obviously, once there's fewer members, Bogar lands the snipe, is able to move towards the more valuable parts of that fight. But now 8-1-3, a 700 gold shutdown, almost completing that Nashor's Tooth. Going to be so much damage coming through. And now Cassiopeia, also no slouch, has the Liandry's Torment completed. Full build now for Cassiopeia, or at least has the most items. And during that fight, important to mention because we can't see the stacks, Smolder has hit 225. Those executes are now available to the champ. Also, great placement of Mom at the beginning of that fight to chunk some health off of Kaisa to start. It is Soul Point, though. Not a ton of Baron damage available to Mint. whereas it's the complete opposite for CCI. Incredible Baron
Richard getting
damage.
grabbed by Lily, but it looks like they're not going to capitalize on that. And I don't really blame them. They don't know where everyone's at. And it looks like everything's setting up here for Nasher. The Vision War has really begun, and it looks like it's definitely favoring CCI for the moment. CCI just has wards absolutely everywhere they need to. If we take a look at the Vision, Richard's done a much better job with his Vision score. It looks like it's 66 to 49. And Bessa does have a Renekton sitting here in the background. It looks like he was just waiting for Leona to try to pop their way in. Leona, I believe, does have ult and ready to go. Grabbing this Mbessa would pretty good to grab, but it looks like they're going to try to delay the Shen. Renekton, Dario having a harder time dealing with this. They definitely don't have the numbers as Leona gets left behind, taken down, and now CCI is in a good position to grab that Nasher. Dario still on the retreat. Is he going to be able to get out in time? Kaisa trying to grab, continue there for the chase, but they have the numbers to grab this objective, especially with Mel being downtown, being all the way in bot lane.
All the way bot lane, teleport is coming up in a couple of seconds, but I mentioned the Baron damage. Look at how quickly they melt through this thing. Flip, TBN stole it!
Lily actually steals it. She goes down for it, but she takes the Baron from CCI.
That is game-changing right there, but it looks like Daro could be caught out here. And Bessa is backing, flash forward. They really want to pick up some of these kills and get rid of the Barons.
Mel's doing everything he possibly can in order to try to get that bottom turret, but does finally have to back out, and Dario might actually die for free here. He does pop his ult, buying him just a little bit more time, but Kaisa finally gets him there in the end, and Mbessa pushes out Mel from the bottom turret. So unfortunately, they weren't able to utilize that Baron in the way they need to, because, you know, once again, you have to have the positioning for Baron. You can get Baron all you want, but if you do nothing with it, it doesn't have a pretty big effect. But I think sort of like the cost was a much better, because I feel like CCI could have ended the game there if they had Baron. So Lily grabbing that was really, really great.
Yeah, really, really important. Also, Shen, to add insult to injury, misses the smite and then ended up chasing Smolder and getting solo killed without an assist going to the Leona. So I'm not exactly sure how they let that happen. But I do want to draw, you know, one of my least favorite things about casting is nitpicking about items, but Kaisa opting to go for a Terminus here, opting to go for a full on-hit build, which means foregoing the evolution of the second skin for that Void Seeker, and with 3 extremely squishy members on the side of Mint, and with very few items going to be able to be bought by Leona, if you were able to go Nasher's Tooth, you know, it's mostly armor being built, so you wouldn't need that the armor pen, because you'd have mostly magic damage from the plasma and the on-hit. So I'm not sure about this Terminus pick up here. It's not the worst thing in the world, but if you look across the rift, not a ton of armor being built. I do like the next item. It looks like it's going to be a Guardian Angel, and I think that's a very, very strong item to go for Kaisa, either Guardian Angel or Zhonya's Hourglass, extremely strong. I'm surprised to see the way that CCI are positioning. Looks like they want to try and find a fight before Dragon.
Ooh, and Bessa does get a pretty good knockup follow into the Alistair, and this might already... CCI starting to mop up the kills. Leona down to half HP. Cassiopeia finally turn around. Looks like they're going to make a full turn on Dario and then maybe turn that into a dragon. That would be the best call. This is going to be their sole point. Would be great for them to grab, and it's just going to sort of capitalize on the fact that they're not going to be able to win any of these team fights. And I don't think Lily she does have a smite available, but she's not even going to attempt it. Something I was going to say is I feel like Leona hasn't had the impact that I would expect to see from a Leona in these games sort of in general. And I feel like CCI has been in some really bad positioning to deal with Leo. She just hasn't had as big of an impact as Alistair. I don't think the sports are as important this time around. I think Kaisa really is the MVP for the other team, and obviously with 10-1. But I don't know. Just the Leo positioning haven't been real great. I know she doesn't have a lot of deaths, but I don't think she's had a lot of impact on the game. While Alistair, on the other hand, has 0 deaths. And has been there for the majority of the fight. That's 15 assists. I'm not going to do the percentage on that because my math is going to be wrong. But he's got a very high KP.
Yeah, and also, if you consider the fact that I mentioned in the draft, Leona, only real lockdown CC available to Mint. So it would have been very crucial for this front-to-back comp to have those abilities land. Solar Flares have been hit or miss. The Zenith Blades haven't really been in range, so they're going to have to step up. And that last fight, I mean, when you pick a champion like Leona, Peel isn't something that you're going to really come across easy. You're going to have to fight really hard to try and get targets off your carries. So when Smolder gets caught like that, there's nothing you can really do. Really big shout out to GG No Rematch for finding that public execution. Not an easy ability to hit without any sort of setup, but able to find Smolder, lock them down. And now Guardian Angel fully completed for Kai'Sa. Really gonna be impossible for them to take down Bogard. Even if Bogard makes a mistake at this point, having that GA
Alistair positioning to get a decent knock-up. Leona's got to watch out for it. Cassiopeia can absolutely chunk her. She's got to watch it. There's going to be the ult there from Leona, but it's going to hit absolutely nobody. Alistair going down to about half HP. There's going to be the redemption, followed in by the smoke. Not able to get the execute that he wanted. We are going to get stunned there on Alistair. Alistair's got to watch out for it. CCI's got to watch out for it. There's the shutdown. Smolder getting the goal. Is he getting the other one? Shin's gonna die to him just as quickly. There it is. There's the double kill for Smolder. Smolder going for the Ambessa. It's not over just quite yet because there's still blood in the water, and that blood belongs to Ambessa. Ambessa doing everything she can to try to get out. And finally, she does have the dashes, just barely able to get out, but that's a lot of gold on Smolder.
How did they do it again? This is the same situation as last game. They're in the driver's seat. They have the scaling advantage, and they just go for a crazy fight. They're so deep. Baron's not up for another minute when they take that fight, and they just die one by one by one. And this could be the end push right now. Only 2 members available, 10 seconds until Cassiopeia. Alistar is here, so they aren't going to look for the end. But I mean, with Baron up in 22 seconds and an open inhibitor in the mid lane, it makes it so difficult for CCI without teleport up on Ambessa to contest. They're going to have to fight for it. 10 seconds until Baron's
Oh no, Richard gonna get grabbed, having an unfortunate position, going down to half HP before he can really even see what's happening. They're trying to just came into position, massive. Oh, Cassiopeia locking down Mint. Mint dying left and right, only 2 remaining. They're gonna get locked out. All that's left is the jungle and the Mel, but it doesn't matter. CCI turning that fight around. Cassiopeia, MVP of the game and my heart.
A massive petrifying gaze, and it could have been disastrous because Mint played that so well. They understood that everyone on CCI were beelining it to the Baron pit, so they sat patiently and they waited. They knew they could get a pick, and they get onto Richard, but Richard is able to get the Unbreakable Will so quickly, and as soon as Festus gets in position, you saw it, the massive petrifying gaze. It allowed the Kai'Sa to free fire. It allowed them to burst down those frontliners. It forced Smolder to back away, and is able to make the difference. They get the Baron, and now they can equalize off of that poorly positioned fight that almost swung this game back in Mint's favor. Now they are firmly back in the driver's seat, and with a minute 25 until Elder Dragon, Kai'Sa really needs to back. Kai'Sa needs to get back to base and spend some of the gold they just picked up in that fight. Grab a Seeker's Arm Guard or something. I really need to see Bogard hit the B button in the next couple of seconds, otherwise this could get a little dicey, considering that we have a full crit Smolder with over 225 stacks.
And at this point, we're really in the critical stage where it boils down to just one final mistake wins the game, and both sides are in a good position. Either way, CCI just a little bit ahead, but I think they've been threading the needle with baiting out Alistair a couple of times, and it worked really well for them with Cassiopeia getting that massive ult. But the thing is Mint going to allow that to happen once again? It does look like we did get the back there for Kai'Sa with 30 seconds on the clock, so they've got time to make it there. However, the advantage is going to be in Mint because they are more in position. Hopefully, we're going to see a bit more warding on their side to try and set up the vision here for this. Leona does pop at least one ward down. Would have liked to see one over on red side or over on blue side as well, but she did get the ward down there at the very least, so that should buy them a little more time. Alistair, I think, has plenty of time to mop it up. He does have a pink ready for it to go, but so far CCI is just grouping over here in mid, but the numbers advantage is definitely in Mint. Mint maybe looking for something, trying to go for the Cassiopeia. That would be a great grab to knock her out of the fight before anything began. That would be super, super great. And Bessa sitting here in the background, she has finally grouped here with CCI, and still both sides are positioning. They're waiting for that one tiny moment to begin the fight.
Yeah, really good job by Embessa there. Pushed through the bottom lane to find an entrance into the river. But now they're doing the same mistake again. They're overextending into the blue jungle. Cassiopeia gets
Oh
lilting
no,
lullaby.
Cassiopeia getting isolated over on the right-hand side. That would be a great time. Going to absolutely ignore it. The fight has begun, and so far the stacking's a bit better on CCI. CCI does back off, trying to play to their strength, trying to go for this consistency. Connected, and indeed they do need to watch out for him. Leo should have plenty of her abilities up and ready to go, but the damage is really high on Mint's side. Leo already down to half HP. Renekton can regen a whole bunch of it, but still he's down a chunk as well. CCI doing a much better job picking and choosing these fights. Shen is going to get a little bit of stun there, but I don't think that matters too much. That is the perfect person to get stunned. They need to watch out for this Cassiopeia. If they can grab either Cassia or if they can grab Kaisa, this could be a much different fight. Smolder trying to get a couple more stacks and build things up, but it's really sort of in vain. And there it is. Alistair going to flash in, and Bessa going to absolutely mop up the competition. Ren going to go down. Take it down. Absolutely nothing he can do. Think that is the sound of the fat lady singing for Ment.
Yeah, it was a late recall to start for Kaisa. They were trying to get enough gold to build an item. And then once you see them go in now with a killer instinct, find another kill, Elder, Baron buff, it is the game-ending pair. And once Lilting Lullaby and Dominus were both used without picking up a single kill, they had no ability to contest. And the series, maybe a game later than it should have been, will go to Crowd Control in-house.
GG so far to both teams, but big congratulations to CCI for turning around. They found their tempo and they pulled the game in their favor in the third match.
Yep, and I always like to, when heading into the post game of a series, I like to start with talking about the team that was not able to pick up the victory. I think that they did a good job, especially from game 1 to 2, in realizing what worked for them. They kept with the scaling bot lane. They decided to get a more a jungler with more agency, and it worked really well. The Wukong played out of control. The Senna scaled so well. And then this game, it felt like they kind of took a step back. You know, I mentioned some of the stuff that was available. Pantheon was available. Vi was available. Both were not picked or banned. And instead they opt for the Lilia. Probably just player comfort, but you see, I mean, Verzia did their job. Scaled on the Smolder, got full crit, CS'd well, even though they got caught under tower a couple times, did a ton of damage, got to their breakpoints, but they weren't able to hit the solar eclipses, they weren't able to find that lockdown, and ended up multiple times using a lot of valuable cooldowns without getting anything in return. So that means that we are going to have the victory come through for CC in-house.
Well, and I think CC in-house picking that Shen, I think they set their tempo early on where they're like, we tried a bunch of these sort of overextensions, a bunch of these gambles, and they really just didn't work out well for us. So let's slow things down. Let's pick the Shen. Let's have that global ult. Let's have those stun. Let's play off of Kaisa. Let's play off of Cassiopeia. And indeed, they were able to get that off. And I think the Shen really sort of dialed their tempo back exactly where it needs to. But now we can ask straight from the horse's mouth. We have brought in Richard, who is sort of the coach and was the support for CCI's team. And of course, I believe he is also the head of CCI in general. First things first, Richard, how are you guys feeling?
Can I be completely honest? No, like not hold back at all.
Yeah, go for it.
Just don't curse.
Okay.
Don't throw any hard R's.
I mean, we have like two teams basically, right? We have like the primary team that we want to play that unfortunately couldn't play today. That's why we subbed in the secondary team. When we win, it doesn't feel as good because it feels like we're taking away the wins from the primary roster. But it does feel good that we get the dub, so
yeah,
I
think we saw in game 2 especially some trepidation maybe, where you seem to have a very clear draft identity. You're picking very strong champions, you have scaling, you have mid-game skirmishing, and then in this game 3, we saw a bit more flexibility, a bit more comfort. What goes into these draft conversations, especially getting towards game 3 of Fearless?
I mean, it pretty much. I mean, the guy who's calling the majority of the drafts, right, is our top laner. He's a little bit of a draft piggy. He's really into draft identity, and I guess we like different, but in draft, that's kind of how we do. So like, if for example we're picking like a dive, like if we're blinding Mbessa, for example, then we want to pick champions that want to match her theme. And so we're big on themes. Like in this game, we have globals and we have dive. So we just got to recognize if we're pushing the buttons, we all got to follow suit, right?
Well, and something I'm kind of curious, what were the comms like right before Cassiopeia got that 3, I think maybe 4-man stun there? Were y'all baiting that out? It looked like you were trying to position it out each time, sort of there with Alistair, kind of going back and forward into that. Is that something that planned, or was that just a happy accident?
I didn't even know she had a 3-man stun there. I don't know. I just clicked. He ulted, and I was like, okay, we're going in now. When did
But
you
yeah,
get a 3-man stun?
one of the one of the last little fights there, you guys were sitting on your side of jungle and sort of baiting it back and forward, and Cassiopeia walked around to the other side of the wall and stunned 3 to 4 people, giving y'all time to mop things up. And it seemed like you
Oh,
on Alistair were sitting there and baiting it out, at least from what I could tell. And Jack can add more information to that.
It was after
okay.
you guys almost got wiped at the Baron, and you were trying to regroup. You knew they were going to start it, and they knew you were running to it.
Yeah.
They almost caught you by sitting in the bush, but you popped your ultimate. They couldn't kill you. Your rest of your team got there, and you were able to turn it back
Yeah.
around. And I want to kind of bridge that to game 2 because it kind of felt like deja vu. In game 2, you had the Azir scaling, and it seemed like you were getting ready to just kind of put the bow on the game, and then all of a sudden you get wiped at Baron, and then you all go back and get killed again. What was going on in the communications in that game?
I feel like a lot of the times where we flub up, it's us getting too excited and pushing for things that we don't necessarily need to. For that All-Star play in particular, when I walked into them, I knew they were there. And I like looked at my ulti. I'm like, okay, do I have ulti? Can I walk into this? And when they went on me and I ulted, I was like, okay, I knew that it was a wrap because Chen just ulted me afterwards and it bought us so much time. Normally though, like we're pretty chill. The comms and like the vibe is we know this is not our league. I know it sounds bad, but we like to use this more so as practice when we're in here. So the vibe is a little different than when we're playing in our own league or playing elsewhere. It's a lot more relaxed, I will say.
Well, the matches were pretty entertaining to watch. From mine and Jack's side, the casting was pretty fun. We got to do a lot of diving into there, and find your own sort of sitting there at the end, especially in that last game. And unless Jack, sorry, has any questions, I'm going to sort of tie us out.
Oh,
Last question that I have for you, Richard. Do you have anything to say to the other coaches, to the other teams going forward?
Yeah, keep banning out my jungler. He seems to really like it. Getting 3 banned on first rotation and then him just pulling some wacky shit out. Oh, my bad.
it's all right.
Well, thank you so much for all of the games. We've definitely enjoyed it. Like I said before, I have been your host, Korak, joined today by Mr. Jack. Thank you so much, sir, for helping me out, for providing some great analytics. This has been the Ember Scorch League. Stay tuned. I believe we Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays going forward. So keep an eye out for those dates. And y'all have a good one. Transmission out.
Bye.